Hello and welcome to Men Behind the Curtain, the podcast about everything and nothing all at once. I am Pitt.
I'm Eli. How's it going, y'all? I hope you're managing to stay cool right now.
I am
Um,
not.
so I don't know where everybody's living who's watching this. We're in Ohio, and we have officially entered into one of Ohio's 14 seasons.
Yeah,
This one is Hell's
not
Front
counting.
Porch.
Yeah, not counting any of the construction seasons because I think that's just 365 days of the year.
Right. Yeah, we are officially at Hell's Front Porch at the moment. Um, this is one of those times where I'm really not trying to leave the house unless it either involves filling my wallet or emptying my balls.
Good night, everybody.
uh, I feel like
But yeah,
we,
it's fucking ridiculous. Because we were trying not to turn the air conditioning on for a while. We were trying to keep it off as much as possible, using fans, windows open. That ended like Thursday. So
yeah, I have on top of my air conditioner back there, which I'm really glad the StreamYard actually has a really good noise suppression because you don't hear it. I have that running. I have one of those box fans, the ones you stick in the window, running over there. I have a personal desk fan running right here. And then I have this big ass desk fan, which honestly, you know what, I'm gonna turn that up. I always leave it on low. I don't need to leave it on low right now, especially today. Fuck that. um Actually, that one's on low too. I should probably kick that up a little bit. But so we kind of have to address the elephant in the room. I know that we try to keep things a little bit more lighthearted on this show. So let's get the heavy shit out of the way first. So hopefully we're not about to go to fucking war right now, considering we have a fucking lunatic at the helm. Um, well, that just happened yesterday. So and
yeah,
and it's literally I saw this movie before. This is exactly what happened back in '01. Um, fucking Netanyahu was telling us that so and so has a weapon. He's been telling us for 20 years that Iran is weeks away from a weapon. At this point,
and one of my favorite things is I've been seeing is nobody shows up to your birthday party. Let's go start World War III. It's kind of very, World War II, flunking out of art school. It's kind
oh
of hits on those
god,
same things. So
no, my favorite one. I don't think I could. I may throw the picture up when we publish this. There's a fucking meme that they threw together. You remember they had Trump at the parade when I don't know if he was in the middle of falling asleep or if he was just depressed about the turnout, which honestly he should have been. They had Trump here, and then they had fucking Lisa here from The Simpsons, where she's like head down, crying on the table. Happy birthday to me. Like, God, yep. It was very much the same energy. Um,
yeah,
but to lighten the humor on that a little bit, I had to go last night and find a video. This actually happened during Trump's first term, but it bears sharing again because it's fucking funny. So let me turn the sound on with that. And I actually shared this on Facebook for any of y'all who are friends with me over there. Um, this just had me fucking dying.
You know them doors weren't locked, right? Why in the hell did I receive a draft letter? Them doors don't even open that way. You could have opened them normal. Door in the knobs. Damn, nigga, you don't respect doorknobs? What? Answer my question. The letter's pretty cut and dry. You drafted my nigga. I don't know what to tell you. Drafted for what? Bro, you really didn't read that letter? Look, we bombed some niggas. Now we going to war. What do you mean we? Nintendo? No, nigga, we as in us. Us. Are you talking about? No, nigga, us as in the U.S. I'm sorry, I just don't recall bombing anybody. I've been chilling all week. We bombed somebody, bro. You was there too. No, the fuck I wasn't. Yes, you was. You live in America. It's time to do your part, my nigga. Nigga, I'll part ways. Canada lit right now. You not gonna fight for your country? Did you draft your? You heard me. Did you draft yourself? Oh no.
Oh, so you're not part of
What
us.
you talking about, the movie?
I thought you said we are going to war.
We? Why are you speaking in French?
Why are you bombing countries?
Because
if you
no, I'm first like Tupac, nigga. That's it. That's all.
Hell no. See, you with that bullshit. I'm getting the fuck out the
Nigga,
country.
who you telling? I'm looking for my passport now. I'm dipping with you, nigga. I'm in peace anyway.
That's
The
fucking
best fucking part. I'll part ways. Oh,
So yeah, so the interesting thing about it is, I mean, there's so much shit going on in this country and around the world. And now by doing this, attentions have been diverted elsewhere, which is typical behavior of what we have seen in the past by other offices, presidencies, and whatnot. No, we're not just saying Trump's or anything like that, but I believe Biden has done it in some ways. Obama has done it in some ways, and we can take this all the way back since media has become a major part of our lives since the late 19th century. But it's one of those things that it's very interesting because I don't think that we have really thought this through. I mean, we know there was no congressional approval of this or anything of that nature, but now we have to worry about, well, I don't think we have to worry about so much as Russia and whatnot because it seems to be they're in our back pockets. But we have now diverted attention away from Russia and China, and now we're focused on the Middle East again, but not what's going on in our country with, the No Kings protest or any of the other protests or any of the other issues that you might be facing, such as the fuck up by Doge and everything like that. So now we are looking at what I think could actually be a diversion to take away, and we're not getting into conspiracy theories here. But I think, if anything, if there is going to be another war on this soil, it is going to be that of a civil war.
I feel like we've been on the verge of that for probably close to about 10 years now. Um, and genuinely, I'm not really sure how that's going to go because with Civil War, in the 1800s, North versus South, like people will argue that it was or was not about slavery. It was. You can make it about currency or states' rights, but what was the currency? What were the states' rights they were trying to protect? Shut the fuck up. Um, but it was more acceptable in the South. It was less acceptable in the North. So it was a little bit easier to, I guess, have a civil war. Whereas today, you're going to be fighting your fucking neighbor across the street. Like it's not going to. There's no clear lines to draw, so it's a lot harder for that to happen right now. So I don't know how that's going to go. Um, actually, and I said that more hyperbolic, but it's actually a little bit more true because my neighbor across the street does have fucking Trump stickers on his truck. And I know how your neighbor actually went and tore down one of your fucking flags when you first moved in. So
Yes.
when I said across the street, I was exaggerating, but it's actually a little bit more accurate than I meant it to be.
Yeah, no, very accurate in our situation. So, and I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure there's a lot of people out there that have the same, uh, pretty much similar distance between somebody that doesn't agree with them. So
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, hopefully, hopefully it's gonna simmer down. I mean, that video was when we bombed somebody back in fucking 20 what the hell was it? 2017, 2018, something like that. So we bombed somebody before and we weren't at war then, so hopefully not now. I also know I'm not going too far into the conspiracy theories. But I do know it's getting picked up on mainstream media that they're finding evidence that the 2024 election did not actually go the way that we think it went, which, I mean, I'm going to be honest, I kind of thought that in the first place because a clean sweep is a little too suspicious. But the difference is, now I understand I sound like fucking MAGA in 2020 and 2021 and really up till today. I know that I'm saying the exact same line that they did. Here's the difference. I'm not going out and throwing shit through the Capitol building because someone told me. I'm not doing anything unless I have evidence. That's the difference. But anyway, we can go ahead and move on to something a little more lighthearted. It was just more. It was something kind of
It
had
needs
to
to be.
address. Yeah.
It needs to be addressed. And so we can get this out of the way. J.K. Rowling, you're a cunt.
Actually, it's funny because I know when I was about to get set up out here, my wife was asking about, oh, would my son be able to come out here? Like, is it too adult or whatever? I'm like, I mean, it's a little bit adult, but honestly, because I'm wearing my headphones, my son would only hear my side of the conversation. But on
Well,
top of that,
your son has heard plenty of my side of the conversation in the past, so it's nothing that T should be worried about because she knows exactly what comes out of my mouth.
that's valid, but it also, I mean, she has seen the fucking sign that I have up there that talks about how many days it's been since we called someone a cunt. So I'm like, you know what you're dealing with here.
Well, I mean, I
Um,
hope so. She married you.
yeah. And she also knows I've used the same logic with her before. If you're watching this show, obviously you've heard us call somebody a cunt before. I don't care. I know people are a little bit more squeamish on this side of the pond about that word, but sometimes it just fits. And the example that I always give, we love Game of Thrones. I could call Cersei a bitch, but does that really drive the point home? Like, no, no. So sometimes calling someone a cunt is because they're a cunt.
All right. Well, I do have some catastrophes for today, and the very first one seems to be going on the what we opened the show with. So let's get this out of the way. What would your ideal post-apocalypse colony look like?
Honestly, probably something like I mean, ideally, it'd probably be something like on Walking Dead when they were at Alexandria, because that whole community was created for such a situation. They have solar power and everything, so that would be the hope. But that would also be a 1 in 1,000 chance of finding. So at best, Alexandria, but I would take the town that they had in The Last of Us, because unless a horde comes across where you are, and in that case you're fucked. But unless that happens, it honestly was not a terrible setup. Cold, but manageable.
Yeah, no, I was thinking the same thing, and you know, the colonies or the communities in like The Walking Dead or The Last of Us would probably be something that I would hopefully find or become part of. That would be my thing. You know, you have people that provide some kind of skill set, uh, you know, to help you through, whether it's electricians or solar technicians or hunters, gatherers, farmers, seamstress, things of that nature. So you gather a group of people that know what the hell they're doing, and you just go make a gated community. No HOA.
Well, well, but actually, speaking of that, really the best setup they had was on The Walking Dead in the prison in season 3, because you have an already fortified structure. You have a fenced-in area. Um, I would, you would think they would have done a little bit more to keep the walkers off of the fence, because like they would just go out there and just kill walkers against the fence after, but like you're not going to keep up with that indefinitely. Eventually, they're going to cave in the fence, which they did. So you'd think they would have figured out a way around that. But otherwise, honestly, a fence, or not a fence, I'm sorry, a prison for that scenario is actually perfect, provided you can get the electricity and plumbing working. Um, I remember Rick, yeah, that walk in freezer, I remember that episode.
All right, moving on to our second catastrophe. What is the strangest historical event you have lived through?
Jesus fucking Christ. There's been a lot of those. Um, so the strangest one, honestly, I'm probably gonna go with is Y2K, because we literally thought the entire fucking system and grid was gonna crash, and then just nothing. Like nothing happened. And actually, somebody pointed out. I think my wife was watching a documentary on that, and let's just say that did happen, where the clock's reset and it doesn't know that it's 2000. It thinks it's the year 1900. What damage would that actually do? Your money's not going to go anywhere. Like your passwords, your all of that shit's still going to be there. So what harm would that really have caused? Like we were panicking back then, but in hindsight, I don't know if it was really that big of a deal.
Reagan's presidency.
That's a valid answer.
Yeah,
Uh,
no. Yeah, I would say the strangest historical event was the entire 1980s.
that's valid. I know as far as like most of our economic problems today can all be traced directly back to Reagan. It's pretty much all his fault, except for I think actually Henry Ford creating the 40-hour work week was a myth. I don't think it was Ford. I think it was somebody else. But whoever that fucker was, I want to dig him up and fight him.
Yeah, well, I'm not that old, so I didn't live through it. So
True. Um, but also just the things that we found out since, like the fact that, look, whatever you might think about Biden, whatever you might think about Trump, we know for a fact Reagan was on fucking dementia medications. And I mean, not to slut shame, but now we also know that Nancy was just a fucking throat goat back then.
and she started the Say No campaign.
Do as I say, not as I do.
All right, and our third and last catastrophe. Oh, it's a long one. When naming the small objects in your home, do you choose the name based on function or because you thought of something funny? Oh God. Okay. Yeah. No. Go ahead. I got one for
That
you.
that sounds very specific.
Oh yeah.
Um, I guess it really just kind of depends because like I can't think of anything off the top of my okay. Like we have a bunch of these. And my wife tends to call them just she always calls them like flossy things. I'm like, it's literally called a floss stick. It's on the packaging. So I guess we could use that as an example. I'm trying to think about anything else that we got around here. Um, I guess it's really just whatever word just pops into my mind first. I mean, it's funny. I was actually hanging out on a TikTok live the other day, and somebody was talking about they don't like to use the word cacti. They prefer to say cactuses, which I'm like, fuck it. Literally every single one of these words was made up out of thin air at one point. Say whatever the fuck you want. But um, so I don't have a real answer to that question. It just kind of depends on the scenario, and I just say what pops into my head first, and I run with that.
All right. So when we were living at the trailer, the Wi-Fi was named Timey Wimey Wi-Fi, and
um,
now that we're in the house, we have Unimatrix 01, just because I'm a huge Star Trek fan. However, I know what this is referring to. So we had just bought a fan that has Bluetooth access. You can control it off your phone, and we're trying to think of a name.
okay.
And the wife was like, you know what? I should name it Pickle. And I'm like trying to catch how's this related? And I'm like, so I ask her, it's like, why pickle? She's like, because it's a big dill.
That tracks knowing her.
So the fan is named Wendy.
Okay, that's fair. Um, I guess in that case, like I said, I have three different fans out here. If I don't know, I guess that'll be Big Windy, I guess, over there. And I don't even know how I would go with that. But okay. I can at least I see her logic. I'll at least give her that much.
Yeah, no, I just put my head down. It's like I hate you.
um let me see, because I know a couple of the things that I wanted to mention. So I think it was when I went to see the Thunderbolts and they were showing like some of the trailers. Um, I'm actually kind of excited they're doing a new Naked Gun movie. And I'm actually kind of excited because honestly, Liam Neeson is fucking hysterical when you give him the right material. And just as like a good example, um, even if you're not really a big Seth MacFarlane fan, which honestly his humor is a little bit niche, so if you don't like it, I understand. But the scene he did in Ted, or was it Ted 2, I think, in the grocery store,
Oh
where he's
yeah.
buying when Liam Neeson is buying the cereal, that was fucking hilarious. His deadpan delivery, like, I won't forget what you did for me today. I would appreciate that you would. Like, that was just hysterical. And so I'm actually kind of looking forward to that, even though I don't think I ever actually watched all the Naked Gun movies with Leslie Nielsen.
Well, the thing
I
is the reason Leslie Nielsen works so great in like the airplane movies and the Naked Gun movies is he was a serious actor beforehand. So that deadpan delivery, that constant seriousness, really played into the comedic timing and effort put into those movies and everything. So given with what Liam Neeson has done in the past, particularly the whole Taken series and whatnot, I think getting Liam Neeson to do the Leslie Nielsen, God, that's very close. Liam Neeson, Leslie Nelson.
Oh
Wow.
shit! Damn! I didn't even register that till just now.
But it's one of those things that I think that deadpan delivery coming from such a stoic presence, is what's going to actually make that film succeed.
Yeah, I'll agree with you about that. And actually, I'm kind of glad to see Liam Neeson change his career a little bit right now because most of us can agree, the Taken movies were pretty good. At the very least, the first two were good. Um, the third one I was a little bit tired of it by the third one. Like it's the same formula again.
But they keep
So
taking his damn family. It's like, dude, just move them.
But I remember in the second movie, this is where I really started to clock that Liam Neeson was getting too old for this shit. And what I mean by that, there's a scene in Taken 2 where he's chasing a dude and he's running up the stairs, and you can see Liam can't move that fucking good no more. Now, to be fair, he had to be close to 60 when they made this movie, maybe in his 60s. I don't know. So I understand that he don't move that good, but if you don't move that good, then maybe you shouldn't make these movies anymore. And then there's another scene where he's fighting the guy, and they keep doing these camera cuts, which I think when I was younger, I wouldn't have registered it so much, but just swing, cut, 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 cut. And they're trying to make it this fast-paced fight. Actually, it feels like they're trying to mimic the Winter Soldier. Like when Steve first has that hand-to-hand with him,
Yeah.
which, and also, by the way, if nobody's ever caught it before, he open hand slaps Bucky. Like I
Oh, see how
I
we can do this. There we go.
are you just trying you're just adjusting
Yeah,
your angle there?
yeah, I needed to sit down. It's too fucking
So
hot to stand.
that's perfectly valid. But if y'all don't remember the scene or if you never caught it, so go back and watch The Winter Soldier. It's after he threw the shield and Winter Soldier first pulls out that knife and they're just going back and forth. Steve literally slaps him in the face, like right up here. And it's not even like a hard slap, not like, no, it's just like I think what happened is that Chris Evans did it and they just didn't edit it out. But no, he straight up slapped him across the face. But anyway, getting back to my point, that exchange between Steve and Winter Soldier, I feel like is what they were trying to mimic in Taken with all the quick cuts and the swings, but it just doesn't translate very well. So I'm really kind of glad to see Liam Neeson change the course of his career right now because it's almost like he recognizes, hey, I can't do these fight scenes anymore, but I can still act. I can still do stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of looking forward to that.
I don't know.
Speaking,
The one trailer I keep seeing is when he's in the bank as the like the Girl Scout or whatever. And all of a sudden he stands up and he's got the shirt tied here and he's wearing that plaid skirt. It's like, dude, what the...
Yes. Yeah, I think they're using that for the posters, in fact, because I've seen that image a lot. Um, and speaking of changing your career trajectory a little bit, another one I'm actually really looking forward to is finally we're getting a different type of acting performance out of The Rock. He's playing UFC's Mark Kerr. Now, I didn't watch UFC back then. And if y'all didn't, and you want to know what I'm talking about, this is back when the UFC did not have rules, did not have weight classes. So when John McCain called it human cockfighting, it really kind of was back then. Um, they put a bunch of prosthetics on him. They made Dwayne Johnson look like Mark Kerr. I'll go ahead and even pull it up over here, called the Smashing Machine. Um, he doesn't look like himself, not really. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Yeah, that's the one. So like this image right here, like, okay, yeah, it kind of looks like The Rock. It kind of doesn't. I think this is actually the real dude. So like a side by side. Like honestly, that's a good likeness. And
Oh wow.
yeah, the prosthetics on him, it kind of reminds me a little bit. I'm assuming you saw Looper with Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah.
The prosthetics that they put on Joseph Gordon-Levitt, actually, he looked a lot like Bruce Willis. So the prosthetics that they have on him here kind of reminds me of that. Um, they talk about his fighting career. You see in the trailer, they talk about like he has substance abuse issues. Like this is a real dramatic role. And I'm really curious to see how well he pulls it off because this is the kind of thing that I've been wanting to see from him for a long time. I think we talked about it before. Early in his acting career, he did I don't want to say experiment. He tried to branch out. He tried to be he tried to have variety. I can't think of the word that I'm looking for here. He tried to be versatile. That's what I wanted. Like he did the rundown. The rundown was a good, fun popcorn movie. That was cool. The Scorpion King was kind of a good popcorn movie. Gridiron Gang was actually a legit movie, and it fit him really well. Where he was a football coach at a juvenile detention center. He did a couple shitty kid movies like The Tooth Fairy and Game Plan. Wasn't his best work, but it was different, and I appreciated that. Or was it Get Shorty, like where he was the gay dude with the fro? Or Get Smart, Get Smart. That's what it was.
Get Smart.
Yeah, he was experimenting for a while, and then he was like, you know what? Fuck that. I just want to be me. So I'm actually really kind of glad to see him getting back into something like this. Um,
Now, if you go back to the rundown, I thought he had more on screen chemistry with with
Sean William Scott.
Sean William Scott than he did with Kevin Hart in some of the films.
I will agree with that. I'll be honest. I know that I'm probably in the minority. I still kind of enjoy Kevin Hart as a comedian. He is not as good as he used to be. His earlier stand-ups were good, especially when he talked about his family and his kids. Those stories were fucking hilarious. He kind of got away from that as he got older, but Kevin Hart as an actor, meh. Um, although I did like Kevin Hart in the movie he did with Will Ferrell, Get Hard, but
Oh yeah.
I think they played off of each other really well. But to your point, Kevin Hart and The Rock, I mean, it kind of fits, and I think it only works because of them actually being friends. But
Yeah.
The Rock with Sean William Scott, that was actually really good chemistry because you felt that. You felt how Sean William Scott, he plays the same guy in all of his roles, which to an extent, like, yeah, we just made that complaint about The Rock. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But in this case, like the way he just would not shut the fuck up. He's like Deadpool, but he can't fight. He
Little bit
won't
of
shut the
thunder,
fuck
little bit of lightning.
up. He won't shut the fuck up, and then you have The Rock who keeps punching him to shut the fuck up. So it kind of worked in that instance. And I, for a long time, really felt like that was one of his better movies. And I think the reason it was one of his better movies, they didn't take themselves too seriously. They knew exactly what kind of movie they were making. They leaned into it, and they just had fun with it. Plus, actually, we did talk about this before because Christopher Walken. You
Oh
can't
yeah,
hate Christopher Walken. And also Rosario Dawson. Jesus Christ.
yeah.
Men in Black 2 is definitely a black eye on her resume, but other than that,
So we're talking about all, like because you had mentioned Kevin Hart with the other movie he did with Will Ferrell, but
yeah.
did you see he did the one with Heisenberg? Um,
Oh yeah. I didn't see that, but I do remember that.
it's
Um,
actually a really good film, very serious film, but it actually shows that Kevin Hart can act. So I thoroughly enjoyed it.
there's one. Uh, I remember Bryan Cranston caught a little bit of flack over that because they said like this was a handicapped character. Why didn't they hire an actor who is actually in a wheelchair? And I do understand that argument, and I'm not disagreeing with that argument, but if I was a casting director, I don't know where I would find them if I'm being completely honest. Um, and actually, um, I'm gonna pick I'm gonna pick that back up with Kevin Hart here in a second. But I remember this one. Actually, no, it was Hornswoggle, dude from WWE, the little person. Um, he was pissed at Peter Dinklage because when they made the Snow White movie that came out earlier this year, I didn't know all of the dwarves were Peter Dinklage. I didn't know that.
Huh.
And he's pissed off because, and justifiably so, he said, this is a part that when you make in live action, this is perfect for guys like Peter Dinklage. I'm cool with that. Hornswoggle, who has not done shit since he left WWE. The comedian Brad Garrett, who's fucking hilarious, by the way. Um, like people like that in Hollywood, they don't get jobs all the time. So something like Snow White, that is kind of fucked up if Peter Dinklage pushed them out. That was bullshit. Um, but getting back to what you were saying with like with that role with Kevin Hart, there's another one he did. It was on Netflix. I don't remember what it is. He's kind of playing himself. He's playing a comedian. He's a touring comedian, and he it's a little bit more of a serious role. And I actually thought it was a better story than they gave it credit for. He wakes up. He gets plastered one night. He's hammered. He wakes up. There's a girl in his bed, dead, and then they go to try to hide the body and like cover it up. But then you got Billy Zane, who I haven't seen in decades. Uh, yeah, Billy Zane basically blackmailing him to like give him money and give him like you know influence basically. So he's got this whole thing where I'm a comedian. I'm trying to keep my career afloat, but I'm also trying to pay this guy off and stay out of prison. And I think Wesley Snipes was like his brother or cousin or something like that. Um, it was not a bad story, honestly. And there's a little bit of a spoiler here that I'm purposely avoiding, but I thought it was a decent story. I thought it was worth watching. So to your point that like he's not a bad serious actor, I thought he did all right in that. Yeah, all right, this was a little bit lazy. His stage name as a comedian, he was just the kid. Like, what? Like, you couldn't do better than that? And
Well, he's obviously referencing his height.
he would have to be because after a while, you can't like Kid Rock. You're in your fucking 60s. You're not a kid anymore.
Yeah, you're just rock.
No,
And
my
that's already
favorite joke about
taken.
that.
So
My favorite joke about that they showed him. He was probably on Fox News or some stupid shit. They said he looks like Dr. Phil dressed as Kid Rock, and he does actually.
oh yeah, kind of like Axl Rose looks like Mama Fratelli.
Right. Um, but yeah, so I guess switching gears, one thing I just wanted to talk about, which is fucking hilarious. Um, your D&D character is so goddamn unhinged.
Well,
Like,
you know that you know that. Have I told you the reason behind what he does?
all you told me going into it is that he was a psychopath. Like, that's literally all you said.
Yeah. So he is actually a very ancient god that was cast out of the pantheon by the other gods for cruel and let's just say cruel behavior towards all of humankind. So
See why?
he has been cursed to basically walk the earth, trying to regain, you know, passage back into the pantheon, into the everlasting or whatever it is. And he made a deal with, you know, basically like Hades or whatnot, that he would collect souls of individuals, and once he reached the particular amount, he'd be able to regain access. The only problem is there's a trick put on him. Is anytime he takes a face and puts it on to become somebody else, he goes back to whatever level they are. So if he were to kill like a level 5 warrior, that he puts that face on, becomes that person, he becomes a level 5 warrior. Problem is every time he dies, he's just brought back, and all the count restarts.
Jesus. Well, okay, so my initial, because it was like last week or something like that, I made a Davy Jones reference. So I guess I wasn't far off the mark at that point.
No.
Actually, you might have said something like that because I think maybe that's where I got the Davy Jones reference from. Um, which also, by the way, for anybody listening to this, um, I actually feel bad for y'all that y'all do not get to see our side chat during our D&D sessions because the side chat is absolutely fucking unhinged. Like, well, mostly we just post gifs that marginally relate to what's happening at the moment. A lot of it is me and Dan, to be completely honest. um, Let me see. I know one thing. Okay, so we're close to about 40 minutes. This will be something good. Um, so I know I brought this up last week. One thing actually wanted to talk about was the idea in one of your bios. I believe it might have been your TikTok bio. At least at one point, you had yourself listed. You described yourself as a gray Jedi, and
Okay.
I actually really love this concept. So I kind of wanted to delve into this because for the Star Wars purists, as I like to call them, there's no such thing as a gray Jedi. But I think that what they're going off of when they say that is kind of the old method of thinking in the Jedi Order. So, and what I mean by that, for those of y'all who are not as big of a Star Wars fan, the old d- doctrine for Jedi was very rigid. Like the whole thing about you can't have any earthly possessions, you can't have a family, stuff like that. Um, they were very unyielding with stuff like that. Um, to the point where, like in the Clone War or Attack of the Clones, Anakin wanted to stop and check on Padme when she fell out of the ship, and Obi-Wan told him like they will throw you out of the order for this. I understand Anakin had a mission that he was supposed to do, but it's not like he was just fucking lollygagging. Like he was trying to check on someone. He wasn't doing a bad thing right then. So like the old order was a little bit unwieldy. And well, I guess before I jump into that, because I can go on with this for the longest, so I'll go ahead and stop. You can kind of give your 2 cents on it.
Well, for me, a great Jedi is somebody who understands both sides of the Force. Has the ability to use either one, but chooses to basically forge their own path. Not, you know, Majority of it, what they do is honorable and, can side with good, but they do have those tendencies where they can actually lash out and become very aggressive and violent. But it's also the fact that emotional ties, yes, as the Jedi would explain, can lead to the darker side. But I also think those emotional ties can lead you to the light side. Because if not for those emotional ties, you would not experience love and light and whatnot. And there is nothing wrong with, you know, being on both sides. It's one of those things is you have an understanding of both, but you know what is right.
So I actually like that you made that argument because we actually saw that. We saw that on both sides of the coin with Vader. Because it was his emotions that drove him more into the dark side, but then it was that love that brought him back from it. And I think it's easy for us to all say this in hindsight, but really what happened, if he didn't have to hide his marriage, I don't think Palpatine would have ever had a chance to corrupt him because he could have talked to Obi-Wan, he could have talked to Yoda, he could have gotten the help that he really wanted for her. So the fact that he had to hide it is ultimately what the problem was. Um, but where I was going to go and where I was kind of pausing with that. Um, so part of the reason that I know a lot of people say that a gray Jedi can't exist is they're also going off of the idea that the dark side of the force is an all-consuming thing, and it's not actually. And actually, we have a perfectly good example of this in canon because so one of the things that happens, Palpatine and Vader are really good examples of what it looks like when the dark side becomes all-encompassing and becomes just all corrupting. And one of the telltale signs is the yellow eyes. How often do you see the yellow eyes though on Dooku? Dooku was a dark side user, but he never fully leaned in. Now, I haven't watched the Clone Wars. I have been told that there are times where he does get the yellow eyes, meaning he is fully tapping into the dark side. But if he doesn't have them permanently, then that tells me he is not permanently engulfed in it. So I actually take that as a canon confirmation. The dark side is not all consuming. It is ultimately what you choose to do with it. So with that being said, I believe that a gray Jedi is 100% possible. And I've made this argument before. When they say the dark side is all consuming, who's telling us this? Yoda, Mace. Actually, you know what? Mace is a good example too, because he does use dark side when he fights. Um, so we have Yoda, we have Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan did stick to the doctrine a little too strict. Um, was it Kai Mundi or something like that? I forget. Some of the other
Yeah.
Jedi's are Clo Plune. I don't remember all their fucking names. Actually, you know what just occurred to me? So the one I'm thinking of, Clo Plune, or I don't remember what he was one of the guys that Palpatine killed. Does he not look like the fucking baby from the first Men in Black? I
Oh
don't know.
shit.
I don't know how I never made that connection. That movie is 20 years old, and it just hit me right now that that fucking baby looks just like him. So I refuse to believe that that was coincidental. But moving on. But my point being, like, you have these old school mentality Jedi who tell you that it's all consuming. However, before the Jedi, before the Sith even existed, there were still Force users who didn't separate it. They didn't use the light side or the dark side, they just used the Force. So if they could use it neutrally, then a gray Jedi can and probably does exist. Um, Now, I've heard people make the argument that they think Ahsoka is a gray Jedi.
Uh, I would say you could probably classify her as that, even though she abandoned the ways of the Jedi. Um, so she would, at at the very least, be a very high using force sensitive, individual. Um, But you could also say like someone like Balin Skull. You know, I would say he's probably a gray Jedi. Probably delves more deeper into the dark side because of the sisters. But he's also he's his reasonings are kind of like Thanos. It's like, all in all, it's like, yeah, instead of doubling the amount of resources for the entire, multiverse, he decided he's going to eliminate half. You know, intentions were actually, you know, good, but yet were not humanistic. And we see the same thing with like Balin, with his intentions. He has the right intentions. He's just going about it in a very dark manner.
Yeah. And again, this was a theory that I saw floated online, but the theory makes sense and I like it. With Balin Skull and his apprentice, I don't remember her name, but their lightsaber is more of a blood orange, not a red, which means that they did bleed it, but they didn't fully bleed it. So what they were considering that is that a blood orange is essentially a quote righteous anger type of thing. So basically, yes, they're pissed off, but they're pissed off for completely valid reasons. And honestly, when you hear Balin talk about why he left the Jedi Order, he's not wrong. Like Anakin got a lot of leeway he should not have gotten, and he kind of saw through it and he saw the bad potential of Anakin all along, which we now know was correct. Um, but in that conversation about Ahsoka, I she might be a gray Jedi in definition, but I would argue that the way she carries herself is more like that of an actual true Jedi. She acts very much more the way the Order wanted their people to act and behave. Um, and she also does kind of have that Ronin mentality, which, I mean, works considering the fact that she does fight with a more, other than the reverse grip, which does not fucking work in reality, but it looks cool. Um, but her second blade is it's based on samurai style. Like it's a shorter Shoto style blade. So when I call her a Ronin, that's actually not far off the mark. Um, but yeah, so you could argue that she's a gray Jedi by definition, but I would argue that in terms of her behavior, her motivations, and everything, I think she was more of a Jedi than most of the Jedi, honestly.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I also love the story with her lightsabers because for those of y'all not in the know, I already know you know this story, but the reason why her lightsabers are white is apparently when you get a cracked bled kyber crystal, aka a red one that the Sith use, it's white because she purified it. And I fucking love that. But it gets further than that because I don't know if this is fan theory or not, but allegedly these are her original kyber crystals. Like somebody found and corrupted them, probably inquisitors, but then I guess the crystals were quote unquote calling to her. Those were her original crystals that she purified after somebody bled it. I don't know if that's canon, but I want it to be canon because that's dope.
Well, I heard something interesting is like going back to Luke's lightsaber and whatnot. So in Return of the Jedi, he has a new saber that he created, has the green kyber crystal, green blade. But if you look at it, it is very reminiscent to that of a Jedi Temple Guardian's hilt. And when he originally found it, we know the Jedi Temple Guardians hilts are yellow, or the kyber crystals are yellow. And it got damaged in a battle. I can't remember with who, but apparently it got damaged in a battle. And when he is like, it's time to create a new saber, he went searching for a new kyber crystal and whatnot, and used the same hilt, but it the green one was actually Yoda's kyber crystal that he hid after he fled Coruscant.
Oh, I haven't heard that. I may have to look for that story. Um, I actually would really like if for any additional movies that they're going to be doing. And actually, they don't have to just do Jedi and Sith, even though I do love the Jedi and Sith. I do love that. They don't just have to do that. There's one, if you've never read it, there's a book called Death Troopers, which is really fucking awesome. Basically, in its canon, Palpatine was doing some experimentations, and it basically turned a shipload of troopers into fucking zombies. And this was a direct result of experiments that Palpatine himself had ordered to be done. It's a really cool book. You know what? I might buy that now that I'm thinking of it. I've been buying a lot more books lately. Like I got Jonathan's book, but I haven't started it yet. Um, Also, you know what? I'll just take a second to plug it. Friend of mine, friend of mine that I met on TikTok, Tabitha Strickland. She's actually a author. She has a book out right now called Golden Wolf and Storm Wielder. It's a bit of a romance, but it's also a fantasy. There are actual like battle sequences and stuff like that. Honestly, she let me read it as a beta reader, and then I got an advanced reader copy through Kindle. I enjoyed it, so I would recommend y'all check it out. I'll put a link to it on Amazon in the description here. You can get it on Kindle. You can get a hard copy. You can go to her Etsy and get an autographed copy, which is what I did. Uh, so I'm actually waiting on that right now. But I figured while I'm talking about books, I'll just throw that in there to plug it. But getting back on topic here, um, if they're gonna do more Star Wars movies, what I would really, really like for them to do is in the expanded universe, which fuck you, Kathleen Kennedy, those are still canon to me. Go fuck yourself. Um, the different colors actually signify different things. So the blue that we see the most common, those are more Jedi Knights and kind of more warriors. The green that we see like with Yoda is those are more the learners, the people educated, the people who want to explore the force. The purple, of course, that Samuel L. Jackson has. First of all, Samuel L. Jackson, he wanted purple because it was just his favorite color. And Sam, who the fuck is going to tell him no? Not even not even George Lucas told him no. So that tells you something. But anyway, so his being blue or purple is actually perfect because he does tap into the dark side for his fighting style. So purple is a blend between blue and red, and it works. The yellow, you just mentioned, those were guardians. Those are more sentinels. Um, Basically, if they have a yellow lightsaber, you do not want to fucking cross them because you will not live long to regret it. um, I would really love for them to actually explore what some of the different colors mean.
Yeah,
I know
so
in the
here's an interesting tidbit. When Episode 4 came out in 1977, Luke's lightsaber was actually yellow. And how do I know this? Is because I had several of the toys that were released for the movie that came with Luke with a yellow lightsaber and everything else. And then in the movie, it was changed to blue. It had something to do with the same reason they changed it to green for Return of the Jedi, because the blue got lost on the blue screen, so they changed it to green so it would stand out. But yeah, Luke's original lightsaber was yellow.
I can kind of see that because especially well, yellow makes more sense as he got older.
Yeah.
Young Luke makes more sense with a blue lightsaber because he was still very much a novice. Um, he let's be honest, he was a dumbass. Like the way that he ran to Bespin, he knew goddamn well he
Mm.
couldn't win that fight. Um, Although, while we're talking about that, I might have mentioned this before, but I would like to point out I hate the complaint about Rey in the sequel trilogy that she is a quote unquote Mary Sue. I hate it for two reasons. Number one, she did not instantly do everything perfectly. She fucked up quite frequently. If you want an example of that, go back and watch the scene where they first discovered the Falcon and she was trying to fly it. She was fucking up. Um, but second of all, how often do we see Luke fuck up? other than his impatience to fight Vader and he lost his hand as a result, Luke does not fuck up very often. Like, oh, he's never he's never done anything more than a speeder in his entire life, shooting womp rats. But all of a sudden, he could fly not a TIE fighter, X-Wing. He can fly an X-Wing and he blew up the Death Star. Yes, okay, he used the Force. But is that really that different from Rey fighting an injured Kylo Ren, mind you, because he was not 100%. So Luke destroying the Death Star and Rey defeating an already hurt Kylo Ren is not that different. The difference is their genitalia.
Well, interesting fact that you brought up the hand. There's also a theory out there that so the hand was found and they started cloning.
Yep.
So Snoke was one of those clones from that hand, not a Palpatine clones. And same with Rey's father somehow was able to produce, because clones technically are sterile, but was able to reproduce and produce Rey, who in that case would be a clone of the Skywalker line. And then she basically kissed her cousin.
Well, keeping that tradition alive. And that's another thing that I would say when people got mad that she took the name Skywalker. Honestly, if I was in her shoes, I probably would have too, because you certainly do not want to advertise that you're a Palpatine. Nobody wants that label. And honestly, the Skywalker name, I can see why she would want to keep that alive, because Luke Skywalker destroyed the Empire. It was, I guess you could call it a beacon of hope to the galaxy. Why wouldn't you want to keep that name alive? So honestly, if I was her, I think I would have taken the name too. But guess what? If it was me doing it, I bet I wouldn't caught nearly as much shit for it.
All
But
right, everybody, we'd like to thank you. We're
I
getting
was
now
going to say
to
that's a good note to end on.
Yeah, we're getting close to running out of time, so we'd like to thank you for joining us here at Men Behind the Curtain. Remember, if you got any comments or like to hear something in the catastrophe or one of those things must go, you can email us at menbehindcurtain@gmail.com. And make sure you like, share, subscribe. You can catch us all on your streaming services, YouTube, Spreaker, Spotify, and all the rest.
Yep. And again, I will go ahead and put some of those links down below. I'll link that World War III video that I watched. I've watched that so many times and it still makes me laugh when okay, it looked like my video cut out for a second, then it came right back, but
Yeah, just a little
whatever. I'll drop that in the description. I'll drop a link to Tab's book on Amazon. Again, feel free to check us out. Thank you for watching and or listening. Y'all stay safe out there with all the shit going on and try to stay cool for the summer, because goddamn it looks like it's going to be a rough one.
Yep. All right. Remember, episode 7 of Velma going to be dropping soon. We'll let you know when that happens.
Yes, thank you, because I meant to plug that too and I forgot. Keep an eye out for that, and I'll drop that in the description as well. But thank you again. Y'all have a good one.
Take care.